So in this next problem you'll be told, a worker is paid 25,000 shillings as his starting salary with an annual increment of 2% per annum. Then you'll be told to calculate his salary at the end of the 10th year, his total earnings after 30 years of service, and the number of years it will take him to attain a salary of 100,000, isn't it? So after reading this question, the first thing is to investigate the question and you digest it, isn't it? So that you see. He is paid a salary of 25,000 as that is the starting salary, isn't it? That's the assumption we are making because they are saying a worker is paid shillings 25,000 as his starting salary with an annual increment of 2% per annum. So we are assuming that the payment is with regard to every year, isn't it? The amount is with regard to per year. Are we together? That is the assumption we are making according to the equation, isn't it? Meaning we are saying that at the end of this first year, the starting salary will be 25,000, so that at the end of the 10th year, it will just be the 10th term. Are you getting the idea now? It is no longer the 11th term with the assumption we are making. That is the reason why we say the question is not well digested, but when you digest it with your own terms, you'll actually see at the end of the 10th year is just the 10th term, isn't it? Because when we are talking about a worker is paid with as the starting salary, meaning we are with an annual increment of 2%, meaning we are implying that the salary you earn at the end of the service, isn't it? You cannot be paid this 25,000 before you work, isn't it? So it means at the end of the first year, this is the initial amount the worker is expecting. So that the increment will begin at the end of the second year per annum in that order. Are you getting the implication of that question?
Yes.
It is very, very complicated. You have to digest it. Though that it was not broadened for broader understanding, but you can digest it and understand, isn't it? Are we together? So when we say a worker is paid 25,000 as the starting salary with an annual increment, meaning we are assuming that this payment is per annum, isn't it? And then at the end of the first year, this is what the worker is expecting. Meaning at the end of the first year, there is no increment. That is the starting. Are you getting that? So it means this is the first. The first term is at the end of the first year. Are you seeing that? It is not at the start of the first year. It is now at the end of the first year. It is now logical reasoning, isn't it? Are you getting the idea? It is logical reasoning. Meaning you cannot earn a salary before the end of the year, isn't it? So the first term will come after the end of 1 year. Are you getting that? It's different from the initial deposit. If it was a case of initial deposit comes before the year begins, isn't it? Are you saying it is now to make logical reasoning the way the question comes? When you are told the worker made an initial deposit of 25,000 and with an annual increment of 2% per annum, so the initial deposit will come before even the first year lapse, isn't it? Are you seeing that? So you see that is now different with the case of the salary. The salary comes at the end of the year, but the deposit comes before the year begins. So that at the end of the first year, it now becomes the second term, isn't it? But now here at the end of the first year, it becomes the first term. Are you seeing the difference? You have to digest the question and understand the question the way it is brought, isn't it? So we have, that is now, the first term is at the end of the year. But if it is deposit or what, it is at the start of the year. That is the difference. Oh, you have to understand, isn't it? Are we together there? So when they are talking about at the end of the 10th year, at the end of the 10th year will just remain the 10th term. Because the first term was at the end of the first year. Are you seeing that? It is different. It is no longer an 11th term because you cannot end the salary before the year ends. Are you seeing the logical reasoning there? Very good. So we have the 10th. The 10th year is the 10th term, isn't it? The 10th year is the 10th. And that will be AR raised to power. The 10th term, ARN is 10. 10 minus 1, isn't it? AR raised to power 9, isn't it? So what do we get there? A is 25,000. R is 1.02 raised to power 9. So you've seen what is unique here from the different cases we are handling. There is always something very unique in each and every question we are handling. Are we together? Don't just go with it with bare chested. Don't go to the question bare chested. Eh? You go to the question when you open your mind to think, isn't it? Yeah. You go to the question when you are well prepared to answer. So what do you get here? You found? 29,877.31 cents, isn't it? So I hope that concept is well understood. The same question would have been a worker deposited 25,000, isn't it? With an annual increment of 2% per that. So when they deposited, then it means at the end of the 10th year will be 9th term, isn't it? At the end of that, it will be 11th term, I mean, isn't it? At the end of the 10th year, because at the end of the first year will be the second term, isn't it? Very different from the case of a salary, isn't it? Very good. So can you get me the second part? His total earnings after 30 years of service, isn't it? So after 30 years of service, N is just 30, because after the first year is when you get the first term, isn't it? Are we together? So that is the sum of 30 years. Where there is N, you put 30, isn't it? So we now, the sum of 30 years is A into R raised to power 30 minus 1 over R minus 1, sum of when N is 30. What do you get? Where there is A, put the value of A, which is that. Where there is R, put the value of R. Do that substitution. What do you get to be the sum of 30 terms? A is 25,000, you substitute. Into R raised to power. So as 30, there is A, is 25,000, R is 1.02 raised to power 30, minus 1 over R is 1.02 minus 1. What do you get? You have? 1,014,000? 1,014,000? 1,014,000 means 0 for 14. 201.98 shillings, isn't it? That will be the total earnings after 30 years. Then the next one, the number of years it will take him to earn a salary of 100,000, isn't it? Meaning we are now looking for N, meaning sum of N terms to be equals to 100,000, isn't it? So that we have A into Rn minus 1 over R minus 1 to be equals to 100,000. What will be N? So start substituting. Where there is A, put the value of A, which is 25,000 into R raised to power N. R is 1.02 raised to power N minus 1. Then it is over R minus 1. 1.02 minus 1, that is 0.02 to be equals to 100,000. So if you solve this problem, what do you get to be N? Now this is how you solve it. You start by getting rid of the denominator, isn't it? So you multiply both sides by 0.02 to get rid of this denominator. So we are going to have 25,000 into 1.02 raised to power N to be equals to what? 0.2 times that? 2,000. 2,000. Then the next we divide both sides by the coefficient, isn't it? By 25,000, the coefficient here. So what do we have? 1.02 raised to power n minus 1 is equals to what? 2,000 divided by 25,000 is 0.08. Then you take 1 the other side, you get 1.02 raised to power n, it becomes positive. So you get 0.08 plus 1, isn't it? Then for you to get n, you introduce logarithms to remove the power, isn't it? So you introduce log on both sides of the equation, log of that and the log of that, so that the power becomes the coefficient, isn't it? So we now have n log 1.02 is equals to log 1.08. So you divide both sides by log 1.02 by log 1.02. So what is n? That goes with that. What is log 1.08 divided by log 1.02? That is 3.8. So you were told how many years, which is 3.886 years. So if you want to change this decimal part into months, 0.886 into months, you multiply by 12, isn't it? To see how many months are there, isn't it? But if you just leave it at the whole thing, it is years, isn't it? Are we together? Yeah. So 0.886 times 12, how many months are those? 6. Are you serious? If the number of months in a year are 12, that is 1 year. So what about 0.886? That is something to 10 months, isn't it? Good. So that is how to handle such kind of problem.